Okay, hello, welcome back. This is Grillheimer. I want to make this quick. Want to talk about the comic book, Spy by Skybound. It's been really good. A lot of people haven't liked the art, and that's fine. Um, but I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the art. I've enjoyed the writing. I like what they're doing with the characters. It's different. It's edgy. I think it's appropriate. Um, I've seen other comics that were, pretty bloody, going even back to the 80s and 90s. That probably were a result of the destruction of the comics code from years gone by, and end up having to put ratings on comics. We have ratings on games. We ought to probably have ratings on books to make sure certain books are not in elementary grade schools. But anyway, let's continue. Optimus. This is not the Optimus that you know. This is I won't say he's complicated. He is, in spoiler alert, I'm saying it all. He's part Sparky. He's part Sparkplug. The Sparkplug is renamed Sparky here for whatever reason. Um, he's part Megatron because if you haven't already known, he at one point, and he kind of starts off this way early in the series, he's got the right Megatron's right arm because he lost his in battle. And this Optimus is learning Earth and how frail it is, how beautiful it is. It's a very telling version of Optimus Prime that they could have done in the 80s that they really quite didn't do. Showing more emotion, showing more care. He wasn't exactly cold and calculating, but sometimes they still made him like a robot. The comics tried to do a little both. They went very robotic like with a lot of the Transformers, and then they also in turn made them very sentient and very emotional all at the same time, which is again makes it interestingly complicated. Um, Let me get right to the point because there's a lot I want to go over. From I really originally been going to my comic book shop, and I haven't really bought comics for myself in over 12, 15 years or longer. And the last time I was buying comics, I was buying them for my kids, like Uncle Scrooge and DuckTales and Sonic and Scooby Doo and stuff like that for my kids. And even then, those comics were like $4 to $5 a pop, and I'm like, I can't afford this anymore. And I was probably charging those too back then before I was, we cut up the cards and got everything paid off, and it's like we are not charging anything anymore. And so right now, I will go and buy one comic, and that is the Transformers Skybound comic. That's it. Um, Now, and I've been really enjoying it. And I came into it again late, and had to track down some older issues, which has been rather easy compared to they love reprinting old issues with new cover art, which is really cool. Kind of annoying if you're really wanting to chase down every single cover. Not for me. I just pick the one I like the best and go with it. I'm not that big of a collector anymore. Enjoying the comic. Now let's get into super quick. Yeah, some people don't like the art. I like it. It doesn't bother me. It's sketchy. It seems unfinished. That's fine with me. It shows like more action. It seems a little more action packed in a way, and some of the way they handle some of the backgrounds and the effects, and the song, kind of stuff. I hope they do some more of that because it's just so cool, so funny, so very fitting, so Transformers. And so, like I was saying with Optimus, I won't say a conflicted Optimus, but he has PTSD. He has Sparkies. Whoever is writing and creating these have their own PTSD issues, or possibly ex-military, or their parents were, or they were military brats. I don't know. I don't know these people personally. But I think they're doing a great job, and they're really showcasing that kind of trauma throughout almost every character. from Elita 1, RC, Ultra Magnus, Optimus, Cliffjumper. Almost every character. And it's just Ratchet, Wheeljack, etc., etc. They brought Trailbreaker back. And it's obvious the Autobots are very fractured. They're still getting their hold on the planet. It's like G1, but it's completely retelling. But the characters are evolving and they are changing. Not only can they change forms, change into new forms on Earth, they themselves have changed. Soundwave has changed. Something happens to Ravage. The cassettes are loyal. The Seekers are not. Starscream is more diabolical than we've ever seen him. He nearly right off in one of the first issues, kills a person. That person happens to be Carly's dad. This is very integral to the rest of the plot, because Carly has nowhere to go. I think that was her only parent. She's not the Carly we grew up with. Not only does she look different, a little bit different background, and that's not a big deal. She's got spunk. She has passion. She could become a target master. That's just my educated, far future guess. Spike is in a Chip Chase mode because he's been hurt. He's changed. I wouldn't be surprised if they do happen to go in that direction, the comic lasts that long, he could become a headmaster. He's very cerebral. He's very emotional. He understands the Autobots. He's understanding them more. They've helped him. Optimus used the Matrix to help power the hospital to bring him so they could do surgery on him and keep him alive. Just some amazing events. This Optimus Prime took down Devastator by himself. I think that's where he lost his right arm also. A lot of really interesting things. Cliffjumper has now been split from the group. A lot of them have been split. Beachcomber shows up in a wonderful issue. And it's so Beachcomber. Don't ask me how he chained up Astrotrain. I have no idea. But it's still a very cool concept to see him somehow by himself chained up, Astrotrain in bot mode. And they're on the beach and they're talking and Beachcomber's like, I don't care for this war. I don't want to be any part of it. I'm trying to take myself away. Blah, 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 blah. And he's telling all this to Spike, and he's taking care of Spike, and he's enjoying the everything that's going on around him. And then things happen. Just like parts of right out of the cartoon are happening in this comic. Cybertron gets pulled to Earth. The G.I. Joes are probably going to eventually show up. I have not really been keeping up with their comic line. But I do have 2 of those comics, and they weren't very memorable, but I think I have the one where Rock and Roll dies. I'm not sure. Like I said, spoiler alert, I'm saying everything. But I went all the way to my comic book shop across town, a bit of a good ways from me, about 30-40 minutes or so. And he's having issues with distribution with the comic, with Skybound, which is kind of the division owned by IDW, which has changed their little emblem to IW, I think. Because I was looking at the Turtle comics, and I'm like, these look really good, but I just don't have the money to also get Turtle comics. But they look really good right now. And their marketing is all visual in the front of the comics. And, I really miss comics being in the grocery stores, guys. In bookstores and whatnot. And we just don't have that anymore. And quality of comics has gone down over the past 10 years. Anyway, that's a video for another story. But there's something about this comic is just grabbing me and saying, this, you got to follow this to the end. This has got me captured. And it's not so much the Transformers. I mean, they're their G1 original look, their G1 original personalities. they're dripping with their original personalities, but at the same time, they're putting these characters through the ringer and back. From, I believe it's Thundercracker is stuck in a part of Teltran 1. I think Skywarp showed up, or one of the Seekers did, and thinks the Autobots did it. And no, it was the Decepticons. And once he finds out what the Decepticons did to Thundercracker, he might turn. I don't know, because originally in the original bio, Thundercracker was unsure and doubtful of Megatron's leadership and his direction for Earth and everything, but he was still loyal to Megatron. But if you go back and read I'm pretty sure it's Thundercracker, Budiansky's bio for him, check it out. A lot of that stuff is very, very interesting, and they're pulling pages right out of the old personalities, and they're just so good. Starscream is maniacal. Like I said, things happen to Starscream. Starscream has changed. When you think you're not going to see him again, he comes back, and now he's changed. The Cobra team has kind of blipped up a little bit. You need to check out some Void Rivals. The best way to get some of these comics is wait a couple of months, get the trade. A lot cheaper that way, about $15, $18 for 5 to 6 issues, instead of buying 5 or 6 issues at $4 pop. That's add tax, about almost $30. So it's almost half the price just to get the trade paperback in that regard. But then you're going to be waiting a while. So, there's that. So I've been actually collecting the issues of Transformers Void Rivals. I have one trade and the first trade actually, and a couple of ragtag issues after that. And you need to check that out. It's not focused on Transformers. It's focused on a race in another planet, and they're kind of at war, which is kind of reminiscent of Autobot and Decepticons. And long story short, yeah, I'm spoiling it. They're the same race, and they've been pitted against each other for the sake of how can I explain this? I'm bad with geopolitics, really, but not so much. But just remembering all these terms, kind of a warmongering oligarchy going on in Void Rivals, if I remember correctly, because they want to keep it going because they're actually profiting off of their war, I believe. And things are happening. Springer has showed up. Jetfire, he was the first Transformer we ever saw, and he showed up in Void Rivals #1 before even the Transformer comic was released. Who he eventually flies to Earth and starts waking some characters up, and that's what stirs up everything. Springer has showed up in Void Rivals. I said that already. Hot Rod, some season 3 characters that are not Transformers. The little green guy looks like the Star Wars Gamorrean guard that they kind of stole, in the Salacious Crumb kind of character they kind of stole in season 3. But they're meaner. They look like the original characters, but they're not the same characters. They're much different. They're more thought-provoking. And one of that, I forgot his name, the little Gamorrean guard look-alike, if I'm saying I got the right alien in Star Wars, he actually says his line, I got a wife and kids at home. So, just remember that. He does say some of his lines from the old show, and it's always well done in the right spot just before something big happens. But yeah, between Optimus Prime being part Megatron, part Sparkplug Sparky, and all his PTSD moments, I believe when the G.I. Joes finally show up in Carly Spunk, that I think that's going to trigger and be the key to Optimus really trying to get an alliance with the Joes. Big time. I see this happening. I can foresee this easily. And it may not be easy on the other Autobots to go, we don't want to, well, Prime, these creatures, they don't like us. They keep shooting us and blah, blah, blah. I don't want to join up with them. But at the same time, I got this feeling that the Sparky part of Optimus is going to go, yes, we need them. And he's going, that is when his moment of leadership is probably going to come into question, at the same time being put on a bit of a pedestal to finally get the support of all the Autobots. And who knows, maybe even Skywarp or whatever seeker it was that found Thundercracker inside the Ark, merged with Teletran 1. So I'm spoiling a whole lot of stuff, but at the same time, I'm not telling you the whole story. Almost, but not quite. But I'm really interested to see how this is going to happen. I really think Carly is probably going to end up not staying with RC, who RC is kind of taking her under her wing as a mentor, because she wants to fight with them. She wants to fight with them. So I really see her joining the Joes. And Spike probably, sad to see her go. They'll probably see each other again. I think we haven't seen the last of Spike's dad either. I don't think so at all. He walks into the Matrix. Spoiler alert, yet again. He walks into the Matrix and he disappears. I don't think he's dead. He's not dead. He might be in another form. He may have actually helped refill the Matrix with his soul or his spirit or himself, because Optimus had to use the Matrix to help give the hospital power so they could work on him in their little small town, and I forgot where they're supposed to be. I don't know, maybe back in Oregon again. I can't remember. But a lot of interesting stuff from Cobra Commander. And that's right. What I was trying to say is I went all the way to the comics book store. They didn't have Transformers, so I got Cobra Commander Volume 1, the trade. And it only had 5 issues, not 6. And I read it, and it was pretty good. And it's almost felt like, if you remember, I have a video here from about 2-3 years ago talking about a fan summary of the sequel of how ROT, Revenge of the Beasts or Return of the Beasts, if they did a third movie, because they ended with G.I. Joes, with the main character joining the Joes at the very end. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And even though the movie was middle of the road, it was okay. It had a lot more characters, more than just Bumblebee movie did. We got to see a whole lot more action than Bumblebee did. But the Bumblebee movie was a very heartfelt movie. It was very well done. I really did like Bumblebee, as well as the 2007 live action movie. The others are for another video. So with that in mind, if you go back and find that video of that review, or that my summary, I feel like what is happening with Cobra and Megatron is like a page right out of my head. Like somebody maybe have seen that video and they're like, we can do something with this. And I'm glad they did. Whether they saw my video or not might be up for debate. But what they've done is almost a page right out of my own head. And I'm really enjoying it. I hope they continue. Again, I foresee a couple of different things. I think Cliff Jumper, he's just a poor, tormented soul. He still tries to look in the positive aspects of things despite his situation, because now he's on Cybertron. How things played out with Cybertron coming to Earth there for a minute. I think there's still a big chunk of Cybertron in the ocean, but the planet itself is actually gone. And the people of this Earth, of this timeline, has to know what's going on, because it's just too nuts. It's just too out in the open, which is perfect for the people or the military and the Joes and Cobra to get involved and go, okay, what's going on? Who is who? What side do we need to be on here in order to help make sure we either can gain more power or try to save the world? Or save our country, because G.I. Joe is an all-American hero, and knowing is half the battle. So with that, I better go. But what are your thoughts on the comic? I've spoiled so much. Despite the artwork, what do you think? I've enjoyed the artwork. I'm not that great of an artist, and you've seen some of my work here. Tell me what you think of the art. Tell me what you think of the storyline. Tell me what you think what they've been doing with the characters. I mean, Beast Wars has a huge part of my attention for years. I will still go back and almost binge watch in Beast Wars over and over. I have almost the whole thing memorized. But the story is great. The voice acting is just right on point. It's just amazing. The characters, the small ensemble, how they all interact. You go back and look at it and you're like, wow, this is worse than Toy Story, the first movie. But it wasn't the graphics per se, though the renders for the individual characters look good. The sound effects are just perfect. It's all in the story. It's all how it was written and how it was performed, despite how outdated it looks now. And so, it's something to think about when it comes to this comic book. I've gone over time. We'll see you next time. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening. Sorry I got a little overwinded, but I've been thinking about this a lot. This is about the third time I've tried videotaping this, by the way. So in the meantime, roll the dice, throw scraplets at the like button, and as always, Autobots, transform and let's roll for it.